were obviously in Prince's band. You were the bass player until what year?
Till 81.
81. Okay. You left.
Yeah.
Why'd you leave?
For a number of reasons, but mostly because, I had said that, because I never wanted to be in somebody's band. I just never, I wanted to be in a band.
Sure.
In fact, I thought my dream was to be in like the dopest band on the planet. That's what I would always tell people, even before I met Prince. Anybody who'd listen to me, I was like, I'm gonna be in a band. It's gonna be the baddest band. We're gonna take down the Jackson 5, and I would brag and all this kind of stuff. So I always wanted to be in a band, and so Grand Central became that band to a certain extent. But as things happen, Prince wound up getting a record deal.
Right.
And then he asked me if I would, if I would be in his band. And first I said no. And then he said, well, what if we do like a Brothers Johnson kind of thing? And I was like, no, they signed you to a solo artist deal. Mm-hmm. I said, so it wouldn't make sense for me to be, and he said, but you got to be in it. I said, look, I'll tell you what, I'll be in it. You're doing a 3-album deal. So for 3 albums, I'm there. I'm behind you. I got your back, you know, and so that was basically it. And so after the 3rd album, which was Dirty Mind, that was my exit.
That was it.
And so and it was, I got to tell you, it was a blast. For the most part, it was absolutely a blast.
You left on your terms. Then you left, and then you did your own thing.
I left on. I left on. Well, I left on my terms because I just was like, for one thing, that's when I said I was going to leave. And for another thing, there was issues with, credit and songs and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what, at this point, maybe it's just time for me, to move on.
So things got a little funny and it was time to
sort of realize your own thing.
Yeah, I get it.
Things got a little funny. It was time to go. And
Well, I respect you for that, man, because, look, you guys grew up together, and it wasn't exactly what you bargained for. You told them that from the get-go, and then it was time to go. And then you went out and got your own record deal. Is that how those events unfolded? Pretty much. I mean, I wound up, because obviously when I left, I had no money, $0. Right. So I was, and I just had a newborn daughter. Oh, wow.
So it was rough. And so I was like, but I luckily supported my family. My brother bought me a 4-track, and I cut a demo, and I literally called, I looked and was kind of eeny, miny, mo. I was like, what labels? And I thought, well, Columbia sounds good. So I called him up and I said, listen, I'm Andre Cymone. I think I want to get a record deal with you guys. So, what do I have to do? And I literally, I kid you not, that's what I did.
You called from the Yellow Pages and called him on the phone?
Called him on the phone, said, I'm Andre Cymone and I should have a record deal with you guys. I looked at Warner Brothers and I thought about this and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, you really Andre Cymone? Andre Cymone from, I said, yeah. And, they said, well, I'll tell you what, send us a demo tape and, we'll see, we'll work it out from there. I said, okay. So I cut the demo tape, sent it to them. And they was like, okay, well, do you have representation? I said, no. And I said, you know what? I said, yeah. So I called Owen. I said, Owen, listen, I got this thing worked out with Columbia. If you got, and so the rest is history. Owen, I had connections and, he solidified the situation and got me an attorney and the rest is history.
Was that a fun period of time for you creating those records? Did you enjoy that? Do you look back on that? Or was that, because people think that once you get the record deal, you've made it. That's it. But that ain't the case, as you and I both know.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's funny. Nobody's ever asked me a question like that before. I mean, I've been asked a lot of questions.
Yeah, I know.
Never that. Was it, in some ways it was fun. And in some ways it was it was a kind of a bit of a lonely process, which was interesting because, I was, Prince and I had always done everything from since we were in 7th grade together. We wrote songs together, we recorded songs together, our first demos and all that kind of stuff. And we kind of went back and forth, with developing our writing skills and all that kind of stuff. So when I got a record deal, and I think it was $250,000 or something like that, and they were like, and I'm from the projects, and like $250,000 is like, that's a lot of money. I ain't never had
to anybody.
I ain't never smelt any kind of money like that in my life. So I'm like, so my attitude was like, well, I can do whatever I want. And as an artist, I wanted to create something that nobody had, ever done. And, it would have been easy for me to sort of replicate what was out at the time. Because I guess that's what I think that's what they expected me to do, which is understandable in retrospect. But
yep.
I just want to be an artist, and I looked at things from a very, very different perspective. And so, and I was very aware, as we talked earlier, I mean, I'm from a very musical background.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was aware of all the different music that was out there. I could have, I played horns, I played everything. I mean, I played drums. I played drums better than I played bass.
What?
So I played, yeah.
Good to know, by the way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I only, stopped playing drums when Morris got in the band because Morris was so bad on drums.
Yeah.
I was like, well, there ain't no need for me. Cause at that point, cause we used to have, drum offs and who thought they could play best.
Sure.
And I was like, couldn't nobody hold a candle as far as I was concerned.
Right.
May not have been absolutely the case, but you couldn't have told me that I wasn't the baddest drummer in the band at that point.
I love that kind of confidence, man. I'm the baddest in the land.
No, I mean that was the environment that we were in because I had a drum set down in our basement, and
right.
Because my cousin was a drummer. He was a drummer in local bands and in Maurice McInnes's band and Midwest Express and bands that were really making noise around the city. So I had and he left a little drum set for me and my sister to play. So but anyway, so yeah, I just it just became I could have created whatever kind of music I wanted. Yep. And I just decided I wanted to be artistic and I wanted to do something that hadn't been done. So I did, the Living in a New Wave album, which, if you really think about it, I wasn't trying to write a hit, and I was just trying to create something absolutely new. Yeah. And so it was like, I think the timing is like 6/8 or something crazy like that. It's like, right. There's nothing like it. There still isn't anything like it.
Right.
And I think the songs on that album all represent that same attitude. And my focus at then was everything has to be futuristic and sort of in that headspace. And so the record company was like, but we want you to do something more like this. And they cut out the top 10 R&B. And I was like, but I don't want to do anything like that. Why you want to put a mustache on my Mona Lisa? And so I was like, I was adamant about not wanting to do anything that they wanted me to do. And then I wanted to do rock and roll.
Right.
Because then I wanted, and so finally we wound up going back and forth. And I just wanted off and they wouldn't let me off. And so, and I literally went to to New York to the president's office and stood on the table. And because I heard that the best way to get off of labels, if you go stand on the table and you yell at the president of the company. So I went and stood on the table and I yelled at the president of the company and they, said, well, that was good. You've got the lungs, but you're still signed to a contract.
Oh.
So I was like, all right, well, you know what? I'm not making any more records. So I stopped. And then so then I got broke again. And I was like, okay, well, right. I got to make some money. So maybe I met Jody and I thought, you know what? She's got an amazing voice. Let me just work with her. I wrote some songs for her and she liked them. And we fooled around and got, a string of hits. And then she won a Grammy Award for Best New Artist.
Yeah.